Day 9 of the North American Innovation Tour. Just landed in Kansas City. Let's go see what we can see. So we're here at the Kauffman Foundation with Andy. He's sharing a little bit about what he learned as far as taking a look around at different ecosystems and what does it take to build a successful ecosystem.
Sure. All right. We're going to walk through this thing called Startup Community Alchemy. Maybe you can cut into it later, or we can attach it to the blog post. So this is just a mental model to think about how ecosystem building is built. It came from a company, Cedar Studio, that I started with my co-founder Amanda. We started doing ecosystem building in Iowa about 5-6 years ago. So this is just a mental model to think about. There's 4 buckets on this chart. The first of which is sort of where you begin, but it's not really a linear 1, 2, 3, 4 process. But step number 1 on the left, it says connect resources. So number 1, find your entrepreneurs, the blue dots, connect the entrepreneurs to each other. Then begin to build connections between those entrepreneurs and everything else in the community. I mean, everything from venture capitalists to lawyers to economic developers to banks to arts organizations to nonprofits to like skateboards clubs, because you never know where that knowledge and that information those entrepreneurs need are going to come from. How do you build? You really want to focus on building the social fabric, which is the orange part. How do you build social fabric? I think there's 3 ways. Number 1 is help identify entrepreneurs, find them, help them identify as entrepreneurs. 2, promote the need for entrepreneurship and its underlying ecosystem, why we need that in our community, why it's important. 3 is the really key part, the participate and connect, is how do you connect, how do you create opportunities that create connections that lead to serendipitous collisions between people, ideas, and resources. A lot of value comes out of that, but can't be architected by one person, so you have to create opportunities for those collisions to happen. Bucket number 3 is the funnel. How do you create opportunities to get from a bunch of people with ideas to actual companies? Those funnels can look like a lot of different things, but you want to create one and then eventually a lot of those funnels, and then you want to create churn where people move through the system and succeed or fail, they start over. The 4th bucket is ecosystem infrastructure, so all the things that you would need to support entrepreneurs. You got to work on that too. If you look at the list closely, you'll see that not one organization could possibly do all of that. So the way I always approach it is to talk to whatever partner you're dealing with in your ecosystem and say, look at all the things we have to do. Pick the one that you want to do, the one that you're excited about. And then you have to really get the entire ecosystem built, working on all of the different pieces. 2 other really key elements that are on this chart is down in the corner. It says cultivate a culture of, and it says a culture of collaboration, invitation, introduction, risk-taking, and mentoring. And what those means, collaboration is obvious. A culture of introduction, it's as simple as like, Steve, have you met Mary? Mary, have you met Steve? And the culture has to do that everywhere, at every event, in every situation. A culture of invitation, which means everyone is welcome. I don't care if you're blue, orange, a woman, a man, black, Aboriginal, you name it, you're invited. Even if you don't think you're an entrepreneur, you're still invited. And then mentorship, which is pretty obvious, and risk-taking, which I think is obvious. Those inherent cultural principles are really what drive the connectivity and really drive the growth of an ecosystem, but you have to model those early. The last piece is this arrow across the top. It says, through the process, we must tell a story and create conversations that share a positive vision, focusing on the opportunities of the future, not rehashing the problems and limitations of the past. A lot of ecosystems and communities, you hear the naysayers say, well, entrepreneurship doesn't really work here. Or there was that one company that failed in 1982 and it's proof that it cannot work here. Or you need to go to Silicon Valley to actually do this work. But the reality is we have to reset those old tapes. We have to create opportunities to tell stories that celebrate the entrepreneurs who've always been in our community, who've built the community. In most communities, the largest employers outside of health and government are companies that were started there. But a lot of times we don't even recognize, and the local community doesn't even see, that 40 or 60 or 80 or 100 years ago, some crazy guy in a basement had an idea and it's now the largest employer. These steps are part of what we call startup community alchemy, and just a model to think about and create conversations around ecosystem building in support of creating a grassroots community and culture of entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation.
Excellent. Thanks, Andy.
You're on.
Hey there, my name is Mathew Marcus, and I am a co-leader for the Kansas City Startup Village. I'm also the executive director for the Kansas City Startup Foundation. So we are in the center of the Kansas City Startup Village, which was started around 2012, well, late 2012. And it's essentially a place where, in Kansas City, kind of midtown, where startups start up. So it's a small commercial district, a lot of antiques and art shops, completely surrounded by residential homes. And entrepreneurs will come and work here. It's kind of like a community where for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. We all support one another in this difficult journey of entrepreneurship, and I think it's leading to more successful businesses.
Hey, my name is Robert. I'm with Pear, and we're an education technology startup based out of Iowa City. And we are an interactive presentation builder for K-12 teachers to build interactive, engaging lessons for students to follow along on their devices. So.
We're here in Kansas City at Plexpod, a fantastic co-working space. Had a chance to go through with the community director, Laura. She shared a little bit, also introduced me to Safety Culture, a local Australian success story. So here's what she had to say about the place. So, Laura, tell me a little bit about Plexpod and what it means and why you're here.
So Plexpod is a platform for the co-working community. Plex is a compromising of multiple units, and Pod is a protective housing. So like I was saying, what I think is really great of the people that are making this step out of their house or maybe the coffee shop is just really giving them the network within the community and the reach that they need. We have a Flex Desk member who plans corporate events, and he was looking for someone that could help build his website. We have a member here that does that. So I think that's what's been really neat, is driving the community, driving the networking, and really getting people within the community connected that otherwise wouldn't have made a connection had they not been members here. So I think that that's been what's really great about Plexpod. So yeah.
And so Plexpod, like as an organization, especially you as the community director, do a lot of things for the members and really help them out. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things that you do for them?
We host community events. So we do like a beer potluck or a ping pong tournament. Our community here really loves ping pong. So it was a big hit last year, so we want to do that again. We have also done a charity drive for a local organization that helps homeless people in Kansas City. So we are collecting donations for blankets and gloves and candles or anything that can kind of help the community there. If any of our members, maybe they land a new deal, or we have a church that meets here every Sunday in our event space that's a member here, and he just wrote another book, and so we were helping him launch his book launch, or we have been in communication with him and want to support him, and we have sent stuff out on our social media for him. So, anytime that there is a big success, we always want to, support our members and drive that. And yeah.
So if you were to say one thing to somebody out there saying, look, I'm looking at entering into a co-working space like Plexpod, somebody in the Kansas City area, what would your advice be to them?
One, I think because it's such a new concept, is you have to come in here and you have to experience it yourself. You can try to explain it, but someone that's never stepped into a co-working facility or a community like this, you really have to come in